Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. If anyone can hear us, welcome. Today we've got a great show. Today we've got Ira Todd, who's a retired police detective, a consultant for Hollywood, and we have Ed Sarpolus, who's going to join us first. He's a pollster, and we'll be talking about the election. And then we have Michael Wiliams and Stone, real estate partners. They're going to talk about the Detroit Brightmoor neighborhood and some of the events that are happening there. So, welcome. Are we getting some? Are we getting some sound here? All right. Can anyone hear us out there?
Good morning. Good morning.
All
Detroit
right.
in Black and White. Adolph Mongo will be zooming in. I am Vanessa Moss, lawyer and political consultant. We have Allan Lengel, who's here this morning. Deadline Detroit, and what was the name of that paper in middle school? The American Eagle.
Oh, the Eagle American.
Eagle American.
Eagle American.
So we're here at McShane's on the corner of Michigan Avenue and Trumbull. We invite our viewers to come down here to McShane's, come down and have some breakfast. We thank the owner of McShane's for allowing us to be here live every Saturday. We are encouraging everyone to come down and, participate. If you are watching this podcast, we're asking that you like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. So we're going to wait for Adolph to come in, but while we're waiting for him,
All
we
right,
can start
here we
with
go. We're going to bring Adolph in.
he's here. Okay, hey.
Adolph, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, welcome. We're going to go right straight to the outrage of the week. Vanessa, what's your outrage of the week?
So my outrage of the week is what happened to Winter, the little girl who lived in Lansing with her mom, and she's 2 years old. And this monster, because that's exactly what he is, this monster decides to kidnap her after he and the mom had some differences. He stabbed the mom. Mom runs out the house for safety. He takes the baby. He drives the baby from Lansing, kills the baby with a cell phone cord, and drops her off in the city of Detroit. I am outraged. I am pissed off. And you know what? As a defense attorney, I understand that people have defenses, but in some cases, it's a slam dunk. In this case, and this is coming from me, prison is not good enough for him. Street justice is what should happen to this guy. This guy is a piece of SHIT. He's a monster.
Isn't he facing a death penalty? This is a federal case.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't want him to wait. I don't even want them to wait. I don't even want him to go through the process. Goodbye. Good riddance.
And the bad thing that come out of this is that people are putting up GoFundMe pages, taking money from folks in the name of this little young girl. And what was real sad is that the father of this young girl, who is a student at University of Tennessee Martin and a football player,
right?
Man, if you have to hear him and see him, it's heartbreaking just to listen to him. And if it wasn't for the university and a football coach, the guy couldn't have got here. He'd get a call saying that his daughter's been kidnapped, etc. Right. This is just ridiculous. People have they don't not care about whether this is a kid, a baby, or a senior citizen.
But you know what is really even more outrageous is the fact that he and the mother has a child together. She's living, so she has to live with the child that she and he created. I can't imagine the amount of stress and trauma that this has caused for her and will continue to cause for her, because she has to look at that child that she created with this piece of
Shit.
yes.
Piece of shit. Allan, your outrage of the week.
My outrage of the week is that, the Republican, the whole January 6th thing and the overturning of the election. We've seen the Republicans screaming about voter fraud from the moment, actually pre-election in 2020. Trump was already trying to yell voter fraud, and they have tried to perpetrate the biggest voter fraud in American history, trying to have the fake electorates, trying to pressure people to overturn the elections, trying to pressure lawmakers. They brought in, Trump had 2 of the Michigan lawmakers come to the White House to try to overturn stuff. We saw the biggest perpetration of voter fraud, attempted voter fraud in this country. And some people are just blowing it off, and they just are being so cavalier about it. We've never seen anything. Look, if any previous president had tried that, they would have been gone in a second. This guy, he remained in office till the very last day. Trump should have been removed for all the horse shit. And now we're playing it out. And some people are just like, oh, you're picking on the guy. Let's move on. This has been the most shameful, it's just shameful at that level, the voter fraud that was attempted.
But let me ask you this, Allan.
Yes.
You said that, haven't we moved on though?
Have we moved on?
Haven't we moved on though? I mean, they're doing the January 6th, but I'm saying as a country, we've moved on. People, talk about it much, but people overall, they want to move on. They don't want to talk about that. They're looking at what we're going to talk about in a few minutes, the next election. What's going to happen at the next election?
But it depends on your point of view. I mean, if you watch MSNBC, CNN, they're talking about the Jack Smith investigation.
Right.
That's still going. It's a drama that's playing out. I mean, it's a entertaining drama. I mean, you couldn't, if we had predicted this 5-7 years ago, if you had turned on a Netflix film and started watching that, you'd be like, no, come on, that could never happen.
Right.
That person would be out of there in a minute. Instead, the tolerance here in this country for the horse shit, and people don't care anymore. I mean, on both sides, people are like, I don't care, screw that person. Nobody, the sense of justice, the sense of honesty is just, the currency of honesty is lowered.
But nobody gives a fuck about January 6th now, but they do as we move on. Here's Trump giving out the addresses of Obama, and then you have a nut. He right over there. He went right to the address, and he was ready to lock and load. So listen, he need to be locked up, but he's not going to get locked up. He's going to be campaigning. He's going to get another indictment down in Georgia. He might get indicted in New Jersey, and then he pressured the folks in Arizona to change the voting tally, so he could be indicted in 5-6 states, and he's still running for president, and it's still too close to call.
But you know what? It's an interesting sort of conundrum for him is that his buddy Walt, his sidekick there, Mini-Me, is been arraigned now. Right. And so, look, the FBI and the Justice Department went to him and said, basically, look, you've got to cooperate with us. They don't care about that guy. He's a small fish. But because he's being a stand-up guy, he's going to have to go to prison and for what he did. And yet, so how do you send that guy who's a small fish, and how do you send him to prison and not send Trump to prison?
He's Trump.
Just like they send all these other low-level people to prison, right. and the big fish.
He's the crime boss. Trump's the crime boss. This guy.
Well, the crime boss is not going to jail. Not
let's say not jail, prison. You mean
prison?
He's not going to prison. But
my outrage is Ryan Waters, the the state superintendent of Oklahoma, who says that the only way you can talk about the Tulsa race massacre is not to mention race. It had nothing to do with black people.
Right.
It had nothing to do with black people. So you can't mention race when you talk about in Oklahoma lynching, segregation, any Ku Klux Klan. You know, if we look at Ron DeSantis, and his Florida is, if he becomes president, he wants a military that goes back to where black folks can't be part of the Marine Corps. If they in the Navy, they got to be a cook. If they're in the Army, they do cleanup duty. This is Ron DeSantis' version of none of that ever happened. There was no lynchings in Florida. There was no segregation. Everything was fine. You can't, you talk about, you can't read a book by Langston Hughes or Zora Neale Hurston. You know, she's from Florida, and you can't read her books. But this takes us back to the turn of the 20th century when they outlawed the Chicago Defender newspaper, saying that if they caught black people reading it, they was going to lynch them or send them to prison. So some things change and some don't. So when you want to talk about Reconstruction and Civil War, you can't not mention race. You can't mention black people. And now we got rid of affirmative action. Who are the little privileged kids, the Asians and these privileged legacy folks are going to blame for not getting into certain schools? Now they don't have black and brown students to blame. Oh, I didn't get into Harvard because they gave it to a black person, or they gave it to Vanessa's daughter or Vanessa's son. Now who they going to blame when they can't get into these schools? Well, we'll see. So
as I indicated last week, I submit that there's going to be a way to get around checking that box. 1, 2. I also stand on the fact that you're going to have a high influx of people going to HBCUs. And as you know, a few years back, there were schools that were closing because of low enrollment. I'm going to encourage the enrollment at HBCUs. And as I said last week, good morning. As I said last week, my son is a product of a HBCU. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I suspect that, listen, education is, as much as it's education, it's a money grab. They do not want to turn away that money. Right. That was one of the reasons why HBCUs were failing, is because, we're dying because the bigger schools were getting these students. So do you really think that these educators at these universities are going to say, we're going to turn away this money? Absolutely not. There's going to be a way to go get around.
You know what's going to hurt them when these athletes say, okay, Ron DeSantis, you don't want us down here. We don't go to University of Florida. We don't go to Florida State. We don't go to Miami and play football, which generates millions and millions of dollars. Basketball, we don't let them field a team that they want to field. So they want a sterile environment. Let them have sterile.
It's not going to happen though.
We gotta do a commercial.
But anyway, let's do a commercial.
Let's do a commercial, then we're going to bring Ed Sarpolus on. Okay.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome back. Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Very quickly. I think, Allan, I think you need to learn from your host. You need to have her braid your hair.
If only I could.
Well, he could get
we got
extensions.
Sarpolus from Target.
We're creative now. He could get extensions. He could get
Okay,
extensions.
well, and
to get
Mongo's going to
braids.
have to get a wig like Sheree Richardson did on the racetrack. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a Bill Bonds.
I couldn't resist that.
But anyway, I want to ask you a question before we really get into politics. What we had Dr. Cornel West on last week. What role is he going to play in this Michigan election, if any? What do you think?
I think he's going to have a major role, bigger than you think. And let me explain why. Since 2012, the Black community has beginning to divide itself. Those outside of Wayne County are leaning more Republican or independent. And we're seeing, especially the Black male, and I've done polling on this now for the last 4 years. Secondly, we also have, besides the Cornel West is basically, a matter of fact, Jill Stein, who basically hurt Hillary Clinton's chances of winning in 2016. He basically can be a spoiler. Okay. And bottom line is I listened to his talk. I've listened to some of the side things going to the Green Party. They view this as an opportunity to take out Joe Biden. Because listen to this. Only a third of Republicans are looking for an alternative candidate than Trump. But 45% of Democrats are looking for an alternative to Joe Biden. Absolutely. So Cornel West could be another Jill Stein or Ralph Nader, for those of us who are young enough to remember. Basically places. So Cornel West is remember, he's very well educated in Harvard and Yale. He's been in movies like The Matrix, though he views as more Marxist and that type of thing. But the bottom line, he's a player. He has access to money. And I would say the fact that he could have a major role in potentially for Joe Biden to take the victory coming up. And also, you got to remember, this is the third party of no party candidate if it was Joe Manchin. So bottom line, Biden is not off the hook, even if Trump is the nominee.
And do you see Joe Manchin actually jumping in, or is that a valid thing? Or
well, the point being, there's more. What's happening is the fact that's not necessary that what they're trying to do, because many of the leaders of this third party group is from Michigan, like Jeff Timmer, Bob LeBrant, and other things like that. But they don't understand if you pick the wrong candidate, since there's such a large number of Democrats looking for alternative, that could hurt. Joe Manchin obviously is that other alternative in other parts of the country. He's not necessarily in, but I could see him holding it out as a thing of getting his votes out of Congress.
Is he going to run for re-election?
Well, we don't know that yet. Right now, obviously he has the money. His problem right now, his polling numbers starting to dissipate in support in West Virginia. So his concern is the fact is that he's beginning to lose some support.
And the governor is. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to go back to, you talked about the Black electorate. There's a divide in the Black electorate, and basically they're looking more for someone other than Joe Biden, and that Cornel West may be the person. How is it with what is it? How is he polling with the white electorate in Michigan? Do you know?
The Cornel West basically would have really, as of today, would have no presence. That's why they're bringing in Jill Stein, who had a major presence in 2016. So you and I, and those of us who follow what's going, Cornel West is a player in the Black community, okay? He has an outreach, he has awareness. But that's why they're bringing in Jill Stein, to show him how to build that base, because she's going to help return over her network to Cornel West. That was announced over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
And so Joe Manchin is the governor of, I believe, West Virginia, is planning on running for that seat, and he's very popular. And Joe Manchin seems to always be struggling there, a Democrat sort of out of place in a very Republican state.
Well, that's the problem. Is the fact is that West Virginia is becoming more Democratic because of the people who's moving there. Manchin's dependent on the current existing, the much more Southern vote, because remember, you look at the Civil War where those lines were, West Virginia was more leaning into the South than it was into the North. So Manchin has always played to that old school politics. So the Democratic governor getting in, that begins to push Manchin's hands. Now, the question is going to be for the Democrats. They have to see what it looks like in the general election. And so what will happen if Manchin's a better choice for the Democrats in the general, they may ease up in their support for the Democratic governor.
Why Manchin won't become a Republican?
because in his heart, on most core issues, except for the coal industry, he pretty much leans Democrat. He's a conservative, old-style blue Democrat from the South. He still has some core issues.
And how do you see DeSantis? What's DeSantis and Christie? Christie seems to be really punching away every moment. He's trying to distinguish himself as the true anti-Trump candidate. DeSantis is somewhere. Where do you see DeSantis in this whole thing?
Well, DeSantis, here's his problem. Right now, 45% of the Republican primary vote believe that Trump won. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about the truth. Look how they embarrassed Mike Pence this week when he actually said it would have been illegal. The problem with DeSantis, the fact he's no longer real because of the fact he changes his opinion. So basically, he's losing not because he hasn't raised $130 million. He doesn't appear real to the people. He doesn't have any charisma. And so what's happening, even Fred Upton, our congressman who retired, says Donald Trump, and Upton is not a Trump supporter. Matter of fact, Fred Upton helped a lot of Democrats get elected as a Republican. So DeSantis' problem, the fact he's not perceived as a real person. He still might come through as a second choice, but right now Trump is just taking the task. Because remember, it's the old story. Trump has his own cult. That people believe him no matter what he says, and the more you attack him, his support goes up.
And here in Michigan, here in Michigan, we saw in 2016 Hillary lost by 10,700 votes. Mm-hmm. In 2020, Biden won by 150,000 votes. Yeah. Obviously, 10,700 Cornel West could have an impact. 150,000, not likely. But how do you see that playing out here in Michigan this time? Is Biden more of a? Is it going to be a lot closer with Biden here in Michigan this time?
Oh, it was in 2020. It was a close race when you consider the amount of votes. You got to understand it. Well, here's what's going on. Part of the problem, if you look at it, is the Black community support was very weak in Michigan in turnout in 2022. Okay, if they're not remotivated, there's a good chunk of that 150,000 votes go away. And remember, if African Americans move into outstate, into Oakland County and Southern Wayne County, they don't have that family gathering of support. Because, for example, as I go around the state, outside of the core Western Detroit, when I talk to Black community in Muskegon or Benton Harbor, they're not really part of the overall argument because we don't do outreach. We're so stuck in Southeast Michigan. The Black leadership is not across the state. That's been my biggest grief because when I was with Judge Thomas, we did 30 events in all Black communities around the state. And it's like, you're from Detroit and you're Black. We didn't know that.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's go to the Slotkin. Is she a shoe-in as a U.S. Senator? Or who do Republicans have to deal with that race?
Okay, well, right now, Alicia Slotkin has at least committed on hand $15 million between hard and soft. She's promised another $15 million, up to $30 million if she becomes a hot primary. Okay, the candidates right now. Let me explain what's happening right now. Most of the candidates running against her, from Ms. Pugh from Saginaw, who got all her county endorsements, or Hill Harper, or Vanessa Baydoun, is the fact that they have no name recognition. They're non-existent, okay? Lisa Slotkin right now is basically trying to gobble up all the money. Matter of fact, she's offering money to candidates to get out of the Senate race, and we'll fund your race locally in another race, okay? And so I would say now what's going to happen, though, here's the key thing, Adolph Mongo. Right now, Republicans are basically don't know what they're going to do. But I will tell you, if Mike Rogers, who's being encouraged to jump into the race is over with. Lisa Slotkin, the Democrats will shut down anybody running against Lisa Slotkin, and Republicans will pour in millions of dollars because that's their white knight. Because Lisa Slotkin would even take on Mike Rogers when he was in Congress.
Right.
Okay, so the bottom line is that Lisa Slotkin is right now is the lead because the Democratic family nationwide is there. But that could change depending what's happened. The other thing, Lisa Slotkin, why did Lisa Slotkin get the nod nationally? Because when I would do a lot of consulting to money people, and people says, well, let's look at some polling. Why was Lisa Slotkin picked over Jocelyn Benson for the person of choice? Lisa Slotkin perceived more conservative than Jocelyn Benson to take on a presidential year because you feel that if you're too liberal, you're going to lose on a presidential year. That's how Lisa Slotkin got. But right now, Mike Rogers would determine and lock in stone the top two candidates.
But nobody in Detroit care about Slotkin.
Alyssa Slotkin.
Nobody.
The trouble is, but Detroit's not going to represent more than at most 18% of the primary vote.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
So how do you get past 18%?
You have to build name recognition. You're going to have to show that you are. Bottom line is, if I took a candidate who's someone who could raise the money, you have to say, look, in fact, the Democratic family spends no time in Detroit or Wayne County in the off years. Lisa Slotkin didn't spend any time. Even Gretchen Whitmer not spending time in Detroit. So if you take a candidate, maybe the trouble with Hill Harper is the fact I don't think he's going to want to spend all his money to run. Okay, right now, the only reason he's got money because he's taking out his own pocket, then he's going to even pay his taxes.
Right.
Okay. So you can Nasser Beydoun, if he could get the money, because he's connected, I don't know, he's connected to labor, he's been involved in Detroit and business, that type of thing. And he's also connected to the Arab and Lebanese community. As you well know, work with Benny Napoleon. Most of the money came from the Arab Lebanese community for Benny Napoleon. Okay. Miss Pugh in Saginaw is a great lady, but she has no money access or thing. Leslie Love, okay, she's in the race. She knows that she's going there on issues. She doesn't have a chance, but I found out for some people early on in the process, before Lisa Slotkin was set in stone, the Republicans were looking to support Lisa Love because they wanted somebody as an alternative to Jocelyn Benson. So there's money out there to alternative Jocelyn. The question is that who can get the name recognition quick?
Ain't no question.
And when you say name recognition quick, how quickly are we talking? Because I mean,
well, right now, anybody who's going to beat Lisa Slotkin by October 15th needs $1.5 million in the kitty to start building their name.
They're not even gonna do it. That's quickly. Right. Mike Duggan is he running for governor?
He's doing his best to say no, but underneath he wants to say yes.
Absolutely. And we know that.
Where do that leave the lieutenant governor at?
Pardon?
Where do that
Where
leave
does that leave the lieutenant governor?
Well, the trouble with Garland Gilchrist wants to run for mayor of Detroit. The trouble is, the fact is that when you look at polling, he's not doing too well in Detroit. Even Mary Sheffield, who now leads polling, is still not a lock. This is kind of funny because people always pick on me when I do this. I did this with Keith Williams. Surprising or not, even if I do a poll today, the top candidate, those who won't get the money to run is Sherry McPhail, because she has the best name recognition and respect in the city.
Wow.
She had the best name recognition in
Congress.
She didn't do shit.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying the fact, but she's consistently on. Remember, as you well know, Vanessa, you know this. The bulk of the voters in Detroit that are state are senior citizens or those who grew up around Sherry McPhail in office.
Right.
Real quick, Whitmer. What do you see with Whitmer? What's everyone's trying to push her in? She won't run in 2024, but you see her as a candidate in 2028?
Oh, I think her ego wants to run in 4 years. And here's the difficulty with Gretchen. She's never had a tough election. She's never been tested. She's never been tested in a debate. Yeah. So right now, she reminds me of not the fact that she can't necessarily get the nod, but the point being, Governor Angler, when he was going to be the choice, they did national focus groups of his, and 80% of people said no to him. So Gretchen Whitmer, like Granholm, may not get that. Granholm tried and failed. Gretchen has yet to be tested.
Well, no question.
All right.
Quickly, before we go, reparations, is that an issue? Campaign issue?
Reparations, if it's done the way the Black Caucus is trying to do it in Detroit, it's a good issue because of the fact it doesn't show like we're going to be doing financial handouts. Okay. If a reparations, it bombed in California, okay, because who's going to pay for it?
Right.
That's the difficulty. Right. No, Ann Arbor's right now trying to do a guaranteed income. Who's going to paying for it? As a matter of fact, quickly, the reparation program that Keith and Black Caucus, what Michelle was working on, we got support. Remember, I was working part of that. When we did polling, even white supported it because it wasn't going to be a handout. It was going to build up in the communities. Everybody benefited besides the Black community. Well,
we hopefully, if they tear down 375, that's the only people that's going to own the property over there is Images and Gary Torgo and that bunch. So this is what I hear in the community.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
And I want to say that Ed Sarpolus.
One last question.
Go ahead.
Wayne County Sheriff race. Ray Washington, can he be beat?
Yes. Matter of fact, an old lady with $1 million can beat him.
That ain't no question. Yes, I
a lady with $1 million that can beat him?
Yeah.
Okay. And thanks.
Hey, let me put this one here. I'll guarantee you, I'm joking here. The fact is that there are a lot of rich, wealthy women out there, including Black women, okay, that if they find a man that they like, they're going to take him on.
No question. Thanks, Ed.
I just want to say Ed Sarpolus, as in 2022, predicted a lot of the races spot on. And so when people criticize some pollsters out there, I mean, Ed did an amazing job of predicting accurately. In fact, the Levin camp was angry when we published one of his polls saying they were, Haley Stevens was ahead by 20 points, and they were mad and they were trashing Ed, and they won by.
I don't know why Levin got mad, because he should have just ran over in the new district.
Well, one thing for your listeners, the fact is I was born and raised in Detroit. My family came to Detroit in 1890. I come back to Detroit regularly. I still got family there, and I go around the city and the state. You have to be in the community to know what's going on before you can predict polls.
Yep.
Right.
All right, Ed, thanks so much.
Ed.
We're going to do a commercial, and we're going to bring on Ira Todd next.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank
You have a good one.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's Office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome
Okay, we are.
Welcome back to Detroit Black and White with Allan, Lengel, and Vanessa Moss. We got Ira Todd. We haven't had him on before. How you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing today, Adolph?
Hey, Ira.
So let me.
Vanessa, how you doing? Hey,
Okay.
One question I want. We done had all these shootings around the country, Ira. It's out of control.
First of all, can we just? I'm sorry, to interrupt, but just a real quick introduction. Ira Todd is a retired Detroit police detective. He's been a consultant for Hollywood, and also he's an Emmy-award winning one of a group of people, including Charlie LeDuff, who has won an Emmy Award for a documentary on gun violence in Detroit. Can we play a little bit of this before we get going, Adolph?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me. What?
The leading cause of death among our children. It's not accidents, it's not illness, it's gun violence.
Why is my daughter shot? Why is an innocent 2-year-old shot? Why is anybody's child shot?
In the chest. 5-year-old shot in the chest.
It was just firecrackers, and then the car started dinging, and next thing I know it, she was screaming. It was just fine. Why would you do that to him?
13 shots in all went into this home.
Tonight, out of America's iconic Motor City, Detroit, waving the white flag.
The homicide rate is at its highest in 40 years. Dubbed Murder City with 78,000 abandoned buildings.
900 children have been shot in those 9 years since Detroit's historic bankruptcy.
Last week, on the way to see Sesame Street Live, Durham angrily rolling down the window, pointing the gun at the car and firing a single shot. The little boy dying the next day.
Is your son a monster?
No, he's not.
All righty.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Adolph. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
You're showing off your trophy.
All right. Emmy Award winning.
Okay. As I was saying, man, it's like the 4th of July was like, even the Wild Wild West wasn't this wild on the 4th of July. What's the solution? You know what, we hear and we see all this death and destruction every day. Whether it's Detroit, whether it's in Texas, whether it's
Baltimore,
in California, it doesn't matter. How can it end, and what can we do about it, Ira?
Well, Adolph, really, I've been doing this like 40-something years in law enforcement. And it's really no difference. I think the real difference is the media coverage, social media, and everything else. We see a lot more of it now. But years ago, we used to, like police officers, we would see it like this stuff all the time, all day long, all year long. And basically, you know, nobody get to see it like we get to see it now. And you guys are getting exposed to it like we were getting exposed to it. So it may seem chaotic, but if you look at the numbers, they up a little bit. But it's been this crazy for a long time. And guns been around for a long time. And we got to be honest, nobody's getting rid of their guns. They do a gun recall back, whatever they want to do, legislation, whatever, like people will start hiding their guns. And what they'll do, they'll make these guns illegal now. So, you know, that's not a solution. I know people say, well, we got to get these guns back. Nobody's turning their guns in. From the illegal ones, you might have somebody turn on buybacks, get $50 for these raggedy guns they'll turn in or something like that, or somebody want them out their house or something like that. But for the most part, gun advocates and people buying these assault rifles and everything else, they're not giving up their guns. And I don't think it's a gun problem myself. I think it's a violent problem. Because if you take away
I agree with you. I don't think it's a gun problem, but I think it's violence itself. And I submit that you can't legislate it. We can sit here and talk about it, but like you said, this has been going on forever, okay? And I think that the older we get, the older we're blessed enough to be here on this earth, the more we say that we see. That's because we've been here a long time, okay?
Right.
But people have to police themselves. And if we don't have a change in society, if we don't have a change in mindset, it's going to continue. So, you know, you can have all these marches, you can have all this legislation passed, but listen, people break laws because they want to break laws. If you want to carry a gun, you're going to carry a gun, whether you're licensed or not, whether you bought a registered gun or not.
But I think the real issue is why? Why are people carrying guns? Why are people buying all these guns? Why are people toting guns in the neighborhood? You know, why are people toting the illegal guns? Why are people toting legal guns? You know, open carry. Guys walking around with open carry downtown and stuff like that. They want to make a point. But what it is, people are afraid out here. And there's a lot of fear being created out here. And so people are walking around saying, hey, look here, you know what? I'd rather be caught with it than without it.
Absolutely.
So I think we can like start talking about, you know, this whole issue, because what it is like a coward with a gun in his hand is going to create a mass shooting. A coward with a gun in his hand is going to shoot up somebody's house, not knowing who's in the house, and kill somebody's little baby. That's the real issue. It's these cowards with guns. We got a lot of legal gun owners. We got a lot of cops out here. We got a lot of doctors. We got lawyers. We got everybody that love guns, love hunting, love guns just for the hobby of the whole thing. We're not getting rid of guns. It was written into the Second Amendment, right? So we're not getting rid of guns, period. But we got to get rid of these cowards. You know, guys
what about
won't even fight. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, Allan. Go ahead.
Ira, what about the ban? They showed when there was a ban on AK-47s that we eventually saw a decline, and also the fact that AK-47s can do more damage than a 9mm. Wouldn't it be make sense to at least start? I know there's so many. You and I have talked about this before. I mean, social, education, social services, everything, economics, all play into the gun violence. But wouldn't it make sense to start and try to at least start to lower the population of AK-47s out there that make it so easy? You can go to gun shows anywhere and pick up an AK-47. You can go to the local gun shop. Would that not help to at least start somewhere? We're not starting anywhere.
Well, people get guns, Allan. The criminals is not. They don't care about a license check or mental health checks or whatever. They're gonna get a gun. They're gonna get a gun. Ira, if I want to go out on the street and get a gun, I can get a gun, can I?
And whether it's an AK-47 or whatever you called it, it doesn't matter if it's a 45. A gun is a gun, and if I want to use it, I'm going to use it. Period.
But I think what Allan's talking about too is like putting some sort of legislative restriction on guns now, and maybe in 50 years we'll see a decline in some violence and things like that too. I think all
we
that
have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think all of that stuff would help. But I think the biggest problem is dealing with the fact, why are people so violent? You got people carrying guns who aren't violent. You got people carrying guns who will get in altercation, who will not use their guns and will walk away. You got to understand, the problem with guns are people being cowards, people being immature, and people not being trained properly with them. And
but you know what? For 100 years, it took over 100 years before Congress passed an anti-lynching bill.
Exactly.
Do you think they're going to pass some kind of gun bill?
Not really. They're creating too much fear in the first place. So if you create this kind of fear, me and Al talk all the time, but I really believe it started back in the Bush administration when we stopped talking about justice. We started talking more about revenge. And after 9/11, what did the president of the United States say? Hey, we're coming to get you. Kill bin Laden. He didn't say we're going to go find bin Laden and bring him to justice. We're going to go out and kill bin Laden. Then you got Trump saying all this hate and all this violence and everything else. We look to our leaders to follow our leaders sometimes. They set the tone of this country. We got to be honest about it. They set the tone of this country. They're the problems up top. That's
what about your documentary? How did you get involved in that?
I've been working on a lot of stuff, and I'm telling you, I'm like overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that I need. A lot of people I don't even call them now because people are trying to get people out of prison. There's just so much stuff going on. But me and Charlie and a bunch of guys, and Byron, Godwin, and Dennis, Nemec, and Vanessa, and just a whole team of people got together. We just got tired of these kids getting killed out here in the streets through gun violence and everything else. And we said we need to do something. So we was going to set up a conference, and we're trying to still set it up for this year, at the end of this year sometime. They think in September. But we wanted to make a film that kind of, demonstrated just what's going on both sides of this gun violence thing. People getting killed, the victims. We even have a scenario where the person that killed that little girl, his brother was killed. His father had been shot. His mother had a brother killed. It's so much violence out here. And we just wanted to bring it to the forefront and say, hey, look here, guys, while we debating about guns and arguing about all this other stuff, we're really forgetting about the real issue, and it's protecting our kids. And it's not just with guns. Just recently, that little 2-year-old that got kidnapped, she was killed, and it's allegedly said that he used some sort of blue cord or something, or pink cord or something.
Charger cord, yeah.
Yeah, charger cord or something like that. That wasn't a gun. Like I said, people will use whatever they have available to them. But the real deal is we're a violent nation right now. People are angry. People are going through mental illness, all kinds of depression, everything else. And nobody's really addressing those issues of poverty, everything else. People are angry. And like I said, you get an angry coward with a gun, he will go do something cowardly. And that's what these guys who do mass shootings, these little cowards that do shooting up houses and stuff, because nobody will just fight with their hands anymore or talk it out or just walk away. It's braver just to walk away.
Ira, let me. You and I talked about this a little bit about violence in the cities has been, as you say, going on forever. Now we see suddenly there were white people doing mass shootings, and their two parallel worlds have now sort of intersected, where there's concern, much like the drug issue, where heroin was an inner city issue, and then suddenly we saw white suburbanites overdosing. And so how do you see the gun violence? Does it matter now that we're not really seeing a lot of movement, even when suddenly white people are like, oh my God, we've got a gun problem?
It's just like anything else, like it's parallel universe. We get more coverage when you see a lot of violence towards white folks, or a group of white folks, or a group of white kids, or things like that. But like I said, in our inner cities, we have all kinds of shooting in the neighborhoods and things like that.
It's every day, all day.
That's right.
I mean, it is. I see it every day, all day.
And the lodge
is CCW cases I have. It's ridiculous.
And the lodge in I-96 is the OK Corral. Because if you look at somebody, they might shoot you. They might shoot your car.
But look at this. What everything's happened. Everybody's turned everybody against the police. We have isolated incidents where police do a lot of wrongdoing and some wrongdoing. But those isolated incidents are just a small percentage of what police do bad, that goes on. But they take the focus away from the real problem. So now you tie the police hand. Nobody respects the police. Nobody respects the rule of law. Nobody respects the Constitution. You got the Trump people questioning the reality of law and government and everything else, going against the FBI. you're going against all of our structure that's been set in place. And now everybody's wondering why the world's going crazy because they allowed it to. And
well, anyway, so in closing, Ira, your conference, when you think it's going to take place?
They think sometime in September. They're trying to set it up for September. They're trying to get, all of us are so busy doing different projects and things like that. So they're trying to set it up for September for a law enforcement conference. And we try to really get it together. And we want to show this film. This film's, it's been reduced from about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. And Brian Goglin, he is like one of the best cinematographers you ever want to be in your life. This guy, he turned a mess into a masterpiece. And we won 3, I mean, I'm being honest too. We won 3 awards. You know, Charlie is an investigative reporter that I'm telling you, he's probably one of the best investigators I've ever seen out there. He know how to dig and get his stuff. And just the whole team. I mean, they were really, it was more about saving kids' lives than trying to, you know, put this dark shadow in Detroit or over the country or whatever. Like, what are we going to do about these kids?
Have you shown it in any schools?
We showed it like at different film festivals. And like we won Central Michigan Film Festival. I think we won the Asian Film Festival. Brian is like interim into all different things. And he surprised us a couple of weeks ago. And we had won Emmys. Each of us won an Emmy for Best Documentary. And he won an extra Emmy for Best Editing. And it's just, you know, it surprised us. You know, we were just trying to do something that would send a message. And I'm telling you, when you see this whole film, it's powerful. And we talk to the victims. We talk to the perpetrators. We even go and talk to one of the perpetrators who actually tried to shoot somebody else, paralyzed a little girl years ago. On the anniversary of the year that he paralyzed the little girl, he gets shot multiple times. He's in the hospital, but he doesn't die. So somebody.
All right. We're going to have to wrap it up because we have 2 other guests coming on. But of course, you're always welcome to come back on the show. We're going to have you back on the show, and we want you on the show live. I want to see you in person.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm looking a little rough these days. The old man.
You got a lot of knowledge.
Thanks.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ira.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Al. Good talk.
Good man.
All right, see ya.
Thanks so much.
Thank
All right, we're going to go to commercial. We should remind people that we are broadcasting live today from McShane's at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull.
Thanks, Bob Roberts, the owner of McShane's. The food is great. The drinks are great.
And we're also asking that you like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Detroit in black and white.
All righty. We're going to go.
Take a break.
We're going to do a little commercial here.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo, Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit. Well, our next guest are business real estate partners from Brightmoor, Michael Wiliams and Al Stone. Right. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know what? You know, Brightmoor gets a bad rap. You know, if you look at the history of Brightmoor, it was a working class neighborhood. It was a city at one time, an unincorporated city where Detroit annexed the neighborhood back in the 1920s. All these little areas at one time used to be cities. And you know, if they changed the laws in Michigan, because if they could annex communities like they used to, wouldn't be any downriver.
Right.
It'd be all Detroit, etc. But anyway, at Brightmoor and hit on some tough times in the last 20, 30 years. But what's going on there now?
Let me say, first of all, we put forth a resounding effort to not listen to the people who put a bad rap on Brightmoor. It's no different than anything else in the city. You've got some areas that need attention, and you've got some areas that don't. So I went through and purchased up some property in the Brightmoor community, in particular on Burgess Street between Linden and Acacia. And it had some challenges. So we went through, we cleaned up some of the illegally dumped items that were there. We chased out some of the crime element that was there. We actually had some homes razed to the ground, and created a park that I named after my mother. It's called the Ethelder May Williams Park. And this is our third year of having free events and activities for the general public to come out and enjoy.
So, for our viewing audience, this is Michael Williams and this is Al Stone, because I don't want them to get you guys mixed up. So tell us about the, you said what, Al?
Far from that, he's more handsome than
that. So tell us about the event, the upcoming event that you're going to have. It's going to be at the park in Brightmoor?
Absolutely, yeah. We have scheduled live music events featuring local talent. We have a health festival. We have a food festival coming up. We do 2 classic car shows per year, and this year we're adding in what's going to be a whole lot of fun. We have something called the Autumn Club, and the Autumn Club is an exclusive group of humans who are greater than 50 years of age. So we're going to have a senior activity weekend, September 9 and 10.
Say
season. Well-seasoned and experienced. Yeah, well-seasoned and experienced people. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. And when, I love cars. I love automobiles.
Okay.
When is that going to happen?
Well, we have one in the fall, October the 14th and 15th of October. We call it the Friends with Classic Cars, and any vehicle that is 30 years of age and older is welcome to come out and display. I have a 1926 Model T and a 1990 fire truck, decommissioned fire truck that I got from the city of Grosse Pointe. So we will have all kinds of wonderful antique and classic vehicles that'll come out.
Wow. You're going to have an upcoming event this month, right? A concert series?
We do.
Could you tell us something about it?
He's a spokesperson.
Al doesn't want to talk. He just want to sit here and have people look at him
and be handsome. So we have something called the Brightmoor Music Series, and every Tuesday we have from 5 o'clock until 8 p.m. live music featuring local talent. Now, this started in 2021, so this is our third year. We had 8 in 2021, 8 in 2022, and we'll have 8 this year. But here is an addition to it. Next Saturday and Sunday, July 15th and 16th, we're going to kick off that series with 2 each day additional concerts. And the first day, the 15th, a week from today, we've got songstress that everybody is probably familiar with, Kimmy Horn.
Oh.
She'll come out from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and she's going to wow the audience with her melodic and majestic voice. So our park is at Burgess at the corner of Acacia, 14300 Burgess Street, and it's free. We want you to just come on out, bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, tell a friend, come on out. We'll have food trucks, we'll have merchandise vendors, and we'll have lots of melodic music walking through the park.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me ask this question. The population over in Brightmoor, what's the estimate of community folks that live over there?
You know, I'm not privy to what the actual estimate is. I will say this: Brightmoor has a number of vacant spaces, so we are very well populated with deer and rabbits and groundhogs. We have a little red fox that runs through our park, and I think it's just a beautiful area. So I'd have to get back to you with the statistics on actual population.
But Detroit has a lot of land and stuff, and the biggest criticism in the last 50 years is that all efforts has been downtown and some of the surrounding areas. when is the city gonna start moving forward to some of these areas that really need the help? You know, they got the money. They get these billionaires all the money. They give them tax breaks. They give them $400 million to build stadiums and everything else.
Well, we're going to have you trumpet that sentiment over toward City Hall.
I've been talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to participate. We've put some development plans in place about 6 years ago, and it hasn't come to fruition. We have not had the cooperation that we were hoping for.
Well, we need to do a lot. We need to do a live remote over there in Brightmoor and just show folks that despite all the bullshit that in the city, that there are people that doing stuff that trying to make a difference. And I'm glad that y'all came on to talk about all the good things that's happening instead of talking about the doom and gloom that folks like to throw at the city.
Right. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming to talk about what's going on in Brightmoor. We certainly are going to invite you guys to come back now that you know that we're on the corner of Michigan Avenue and Trumbull. And we applaud what you guys are doing over there in Brightmoor.
Thank you. Thank you. If I can just say that anyone who wants to come out and get a view of our schedule, williamspark.org, williamspark.org, and then navigate to the schedule. So, or you can go williamspark.org/schedule, and you can see the entire season lineup right on that website.
We want to thank Michael Williams and Al Stone. Thank you very much. And we're going to take a break and come back with our final thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, welcome back, and I want to thank all our guests, Michael Williams, Al Stone, Ed Sarpolus, Ira Todd. I'm telling you, it's been a great show. Allan, Lengel, your final thought?
My final thoughts. Can I just play as my final thought? I want to play this about gun violence.
You want to ban drag show readings to children?
To minors, yes.
Why?
Why?
What are you protecting?
Why can we prohibit children from voting, those under 18 from voting?
Is that free speech?
They can continue to exercise their free speech, just not in front of a child.
Why?
Because the government does have a responsibility to protect.
I'm sorry?
The government does have a responsibility in certain instances to
What's
protect
the
children.
leading cause of death amongst children in this country? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not drag show readings to children.
Correct, yes.
So what is it?
I'm presuming you're going to say it's firearms.
No, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion. That's what it is. It's firearms. More than cancer, more than car accidents. And what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing free speech to protect children from this amorphous thing that you think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying fuck.
They sure don't.
And that's my final thought there. So,
Vanessa,
my final thought, I started off with my outrage and the fact that we're mourning the death of Winter. You know what? There's cause to celebrate. We see that there's life and things going on in Brightmoor. The other thing that I like to say is something that I want to start last week, and I forgot because we got so caught up with some things. I want to do a shout out to everybody that has a birthday today. Okay, happy birthday. And we're looking forward to another spirited conversation next week at McShay's on the corner of Trumbull and Michigan Avenue.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank Henry, Teresa, and Jim for making this broadcast possible. I'll be back in the D next week, same time.
All right.